All-State recognition. That was a team of Travis Johnson, Caden Binger, Owen Henry, Kai Su, and Joe Sorensen. They had a cumulative GPA of 3.606, and they had an honorable mention Division 3.
All right. Any questions about athletic boosters or athletic director for Dr. White?
Congratulations to Andy Sanchez for being named WCSA Academic Honorable Mention for soccer.
I was going to say something, but
Come on,
figured
Jack.
let someone
I'll
else
say
know
it
that.
for you.
Yeah,
There you
thank
go. You're welcome.
Do we know if there's still availability for foursomes for the Booster Cup?
I believe there is, yes. I think there's maybe half of the roster, quote unquote,
Field.
the capacity is still available. So there's plenty of room if you are interested in golfing. And if you're not, you still can.
I will golf. I'm looking for ringers to finish on my foursome. Last year I couldn't find anybody to golf with me because I'm so
But
bad.
you don't want me. That's all.
So I'll find three guys to golf with me if I have to.
And just confirm, what's the date of that?
August 12th, I believe, 8 a.m.-ish. It's early. It's the morning.
It's always a morning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the corner Broadway.
That's why
It's
they
always
do
the
it.
same week as Corn and
Same weekend
Broad.
as corn and brat.
allow
They do it in the
alumni
morning
back.
to allow everybody to get back for the corn and brat in the afternoon.
All right, if there's nothing else with athletics, we'll move on to district administrator. If you have anything now.
Most of my stuff will be within the agenda. I will let you know that the school district, we met with Larry Kirkley from the bus company, myself, superintendent of Delavan, and superintendent of Bigfoot. They are struggling with keeping drivers, so they're looking to be able to give their drivers a wage increase, which would pass on some additional charges to the districts. We're under a 5-year contract, so we can say no, but ultimately we are trying to support the bus company. It'd be about a $4,000 increase. They will maintain a 5-year contract with us, and keep the annual increase to 2.5% over those 5 years. But again, he asked early in the year, back in October, to give his drivers a raise. We said no to that, but we are, the three of us, presenting to our boards. Certainly if you have any concerns, let me know. But again, we need to keep our bus company, functioning with their drivers.
What is the total contract right now before the $4,000 raise?
For 22-23, it would be $82,758.92. With the change, it would be $86,136.66. So it's about a $4,000 increase for our district.
Do you need board action?
What's that?
Do we need board action on that, or is that within the contract, the adjustment?
We would just go with the adjustment because it's not a $10,000 increase kind of a thing. But again, if any of you have any concerns with that, I know that the other two superintendents are taking it to their boards and doing the same thing, but in the end, I know they're really struggling keeping drivers, just like everybody is struggling with keeping employees.
Thank you. Any questions for the district administrator at this time? All right, moving on to middle school, high school principal.
Mr. Mansky isn't here tonight, but I will introduce our new middle school, high school principal. It'll start July 1st. Sitting behind me is Emily Solly Johnson. She went through an extensive interview process. I know Jack was on that interview committee along with Mark. Students were also part of the process. About 17 kids, by far. Their unanimous choice was Emily. And we've got nothing but great reviews from the people we did reference checks with and a lot of people that we didn't ask for their opinion. But according to those people, we've made a great hire.
Welcome.
All right, and we'll pass it up to Dr. Bond.
Hi, thank you. There were some really fun activities at the end of the year. We had an Olympic Day that was a great success. Student Council had some inflatables in the gym, kind of like we did last year, and Mr. Padot did a great job of scheduling different sessions for grade levels to attend. The zoo field trip was fantastic. The weather was great. Groups worked out really well. We had 20 wonderful high school students that helped. They were there to enjoy themselves, but they also helped with the groups for the kids, and they enjoyed themselves immensely, and the kids enjoyed having them there. And then the fishery was really great. We only had one student fall in, but was rescued very quickly. And that was a nice success. Over 100 families attended that as well.
And catcher, did him? He didn't.
The
Reel the
student who
person
fell
in.
in did or did not catch
More
fish.
like grabbed her out. Any
I'm glad that
questions?
everything worked out well.
Yep.
And they had a good time. Any questions for Dr. Bowden? Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll pass it over to Cassie.
Hello. My board notes were not as thorough as some others. This summer is really a great time just to kind of breathe, wrap up special education, our paperwork. We continue to work on our audit. And then the big thing is planning ahead for our Hope Squad and what that is going to look like. So I highlighted in my board notes that all the Hope Squads in Walworth County are going to participate in this Yellow Tulip project. And it's all funded. We basically just have to have the plot ready to go, and we're hoping to work with some gardeners, master gardeners within Williams Bay, because I know we have some here too, on just being able to plant tulips that will then come up in the spring as just a sign of hope and spring and renewal and all that. So it was a very nice thing that somebody donated all the tulips to us, and I think it's just a great sense of community that so many districts are going to do that within the county as well.
Did you identify a location yet?
We are thinking underneath where it says Williams Bay Schools, on the ground there, it would be nice. We're really hoping that it's something very visible and that it wouldn't blend in with our existing landscaping. So I think Mr. Quinn was going to look at that spot and just make sure the ground is workable for a garden. But and we ordered enough that we could possibly even have a second plot, just depending on how big that ends up turning out to be. So we could do one here and also in front of the elementary or whatever we decide. So
Sounds good.
Any other questions for Ms.
When would you plant? That would be October?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yep, that's a plan.
They normally bloom, what, March, April?
March, yeah, April.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any reports from school board members? I just want to say, being on the committee that did the interviews, that we're very happy to have you join our team. You were outstanding in the interview, and I'm sure you're going to do an outstanding job once you get in the office and start working with the students and the staff. So thank you for joining our team.
I guess I would just add that, I was fortunate enough to attend a lot of the end of the year activities, not as many in the elementary side, sorry, Dr. Bond. But it was a great end of the school year, some nice activities and celebrations, and they were all extremely well done. So, thank you.
All right, moving on to action items, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to personnel transactions, and we'll let Dr. White run through those.
Yeah, we have a number of personnel transactions, and again, this has been a very emotional spring with a lot of staff leaving. A lot of these people are friends and people I hired and people I care a lot about. I've had a lot of tearful meetings with people, but I think our situation is indicative of the employment climate that is out there in the world, not just education, but just all sections of industry and business are losing people and they're moving around. What we're seeing in education right now, I looked today at WeCan from an employee side, and there are well over 700 vacant positions in the state of Wisconsin right now. And basically what's happening is people are leaving for all kinds of reasons, and we as administrators are recruiting the heck out of it and trying to get people to leave districts to come to our district, and they're doing the same to our people. The salaries are jumping quickly, so it's a crazy, crazy time. And I will compare it to basically musical chairs, and it's going to be who gets left without a chair at the end of the season. And so it's going to be a really difficult summer. We're hoping that we don't lose any more staff. We are now fully staffed again, and we're praying that we do not have any more departures. But again, we know that districts are going into their staff directories of other districts and calling their people. We know they're just trying all kinds of different avenues. I know in talking with the other SUPs, many of them have vacant positions. There are certainly concerns they won't be able to fill them. So just letting you know that from personnel transaction. We have 2 resignations for the middle school dance and cheer coaches. Abby and Lauren are both stepping away from that. We have Shane Cullen resigning as the high school science teacher and varsity boys basketball coach. Mr. Mansky submitted his resignation as middle school, high school principal, and Mr. Tomaszewski submitted his resignation as high school social studies teacher. We are recommending for appointment Emily Thorson for the elementary general music teacher, Karen Pearson for the 3rd grade position on a 1-year contract, Emily Soley Johnson for middle school, high school principal, Steve Kajawa for high school social studies teacher, and Jessica Saskic for the high school science teacher.
So now, the last 2 aren't on our list here, but if we do a motion as presented,
They're on that new sheet I gave you,
oh, okay, there we go.
the
I just wanna
updated
make
one,
sure
because we,
You verbally said it, that also counts.
yeah, because they can, I hired Steve on Friday and Emily this morning.
Okay,
Emily is been teaching for 1 year in the Wilmot School District as a chemistry teacher, but has biology certification, would prefer to teach in the life sciences. Steve has taught for 23 years in the Whitnall School District. So again, you can see from those samples of people leaving their current districts.
right. Okay. Anyone wants to make a motion?
I move to approve the personnel transactions listed on the June 27th, 2022 personnel transaction sheet.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to the Start College Now application for Evelyn.
Yeah, we have an additional one. Evelyn Homburg is wanting to take, I gotta find the course, the Start College Now program. She just wants to take college technical math. So we're recommending that the board approve her enrollment in the Start College Now program at Gateway.
I move to approve the Gateway Technical College request for fall of 2022 for Evelyn Homburg.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the draft budget. Now we get into fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is basically a balanced budget based on all of her projections. As you know, the budget really does not firm up until, 1, we know the 3rd Friday enrollment, and then 2, that will pretty much allow the board to set the final budget in November. But ultimately, we have to start purchasing supplies for the upcoming school year as of July 1. So by approving a preliminary budget, it allows us to begin paying and purchasing those classroom items that teachers need to start the school year in September.
I ask this pretty much every year, and I always forget where we're at. Are we going to have a new 2-year budget come up from the state, or are we in the 2nd year of it?
We are in the 2nd year of the state biannual budget.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the draft budget.
I move to approve the proposed 2022-2023 budget as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, my only question there is, should that motion be stated as a draft budget? I'm asking.
Oh,
I don't think it,
I know it's not written that way.
It's a draft budget because it's not the final budget.
So you want me to correct them?
I was asking if it needed to be.
might as well, just for the record.
I move to approve the proposed draft 2022-2023 budget as presented.
Have the same second.
and I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the budget? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we go on to membership renewal in the WIA.
Yeah, we renew our WIAA membership each year, indicating which sports and things we are co-oping and doing on our own. So this is just approving, renewing the high school membership for the upcoming school year.
I move to approve renewing the WIAA Senior High Membership Renewal Application for the 2022-23 school year.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then we move on to Educator Employment Handbook.
So this would be the Certified Educator Handbook for 22-23. I've shared this with the union, gone over it with Ms. Thiel and Mrs. Dowden very closely. We've shared it with the staff. Most of the stuff is really just cleaning things up. So the changes start on page 19. We start with pay periods, cleaning up some language around the payroll cycle. So either they're getting either on a school year basis, which they get 19 checks and one lump sum, or they get 24 installments. Basically adding language just to match what we do. Like direct deposit changes take place on the next payroll cycle after the paperwork has been completed. It used to say it might take 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something like that. But we've changed our process, and so it gets done
Quick
on the
question.
next payroll.
You haven't changed anything since you sent it to us a couple days ago, correct?
I sent it to you
Word
on,
for word?
Last week.
yeah,
Right.
that's
So
all
it
been
hasn't-
fixed.
Okay.
Yep. Page 22, we added a new thing for sick leave for new employees, so that if they're, like this year we had an employee who ran out of sick leave their first year when they had to take unpaid days. That's pretty harsh for a brand new teacher to have to take unpaid leave, especially if they're on that lower end of the pay scale. So we're allowing employees who are within their first 2 years of employment and ran out of sick leave can borrow from the next year 5 days. It's just that way they stay whole. And we allow them to do that in their first 2 years, trying to support those new teachers. Then bereavement leave, we had some situations this year, so we put in extenuating circumstances. Additional days of paid leave may be granted by the district administrator for the purpose of bereavement. Such additional days shall be deducted from the employee accumulated sick leave. There is a request from the union that we make bereavement leave for immediate family 5 days instead of 3. So I'm presenting that to you. Now, previous to last year, there was no bereavement leave in the handbook. We added 3 days of bereavement leave. It used to always be if they took any bereavement leave, it came out of their sick leave banks. We added the 3 bereavement leave for immediate family, 2 for non-immediate family, and then we added the language this year that they could extend that with sick leave days. But again, there is a request from the union that we have 5 for immediate family. So you'll have to, if you want that added, you'll have to add that to the draft before we approve it. Unpaid leave, we just added some clarification here. Employees taking unpaid leave of 6 or more days may be required by the district to use accumulated sick leave that has been banked as of June 30th of the previous year. Employees may not use any portion of the paid sick leave credit for the current school year. What we're doing here in the unpaid leave and the unpaid parental leave, what we're saying is if they end this school year, so June 30th, they had 100 sick days, and they're going to take a long leave next year, they can use that 100 sick leave, but they can't use the 10 days they get as of September 1. Because what we're running into, we've had employees use the 100 plus the 10 to come back to work, and now they have to do medical appointments and that stuff, and now they're having to take unpaid leave. And it just becomes a nightmare on the accounting spectrum. So we're asking them to use their unpaid leave, but not for the current school year, just so that makes sense to you.
Another quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
The red is deleted,
Correct.
the yellow is the change, and the red is, okay.
Yep. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the other part of that is employees taking unpaid leave of absence are required to pay a prorated portion of their benefits. Basically, the district, a typical employee, say their per diem is $200, but also the board is paying the retirement on that, they're paying the insurance on that. So what we're saying now is if you take an unpaid day, you're paying all those costs on that unpaid day. One, we're trying to discourage people from taking unpaid leave, but 2, it really is, the district shouldn't be paying benefits for you that you aren't actually working on that day, kind of a thing. On page 26, we're taking out the micro-credential. Nobody's using that, and it's just become something that's not working for us any longer. On page 27, we added language on the HRA because that was not in the handbook, and just explaining how the HRA for the district works so the employee has that in writing and understanding that. And then we added some clarification on commencement and termination of benefits for the employee so they know when it ends and begins, because we've had a lot of questions about that. We also added for life insurance that the employees can purchase additional life insurance coverage for themselves and their family. That was a new piece we added is when we switched to a new life insurance carrier. And then on, make sure I get all these. On page 33, we added homebound instruction pay because there always comes up a question of how much we pay for homebound instruction, so we wanted to put that in writing. We cleaned up some of the payment for special jobs such as the scoreboard clock for volleyball, those kinds of things. You can see that. And then just some language around mentoring. We also added a piece for acting athletic director because occasionally Hank cannot be there, and so he has somebody to step in. We want to make sure that person's compensated appropriately. And then we also added how much officials are getting paid, just so that's clear. On page 35, we added how much substitutes are getting paid. If you recall, we changed that rate, so that's just putting the new rates in. And then the big issue, or the big change here, is retirement. One, I added a section that said eligibility for retirement benefits, who's eligible. And then basically, it's anyone who's 55 and who has worked 10 years in the district. And we added basically a sentence: an employee eligible for retirement benefits will be considered retired upon approval by the board in successful completion of this current school year or death. Because we ran into that issue this year, unfortunately. And so we want to make sure an employee that has earned those benefits, their family knows that they're entitled to them if something, what happened like we've experienced. And then cleaned up some of that accumulated sick leave piece. And then we changed on letter D, the health insurance piece of it. Currently, when an employee retires between 55 and 64, they just stay on our insurance. And then Jennifer has to keep track of how much money they've earned and how much that's spent each year and those kinds of things. And they have to stay on our insurance. At 65, their money's put into an HRA, and they can go and get their own insurance and do what they can. We've had some situations recently where some employees are retiring and moving out of state. They're retiring, say, at 57, and for them to keep our insurance doesn't make a whole lot of sense because United Health may not be where they're moving. So they would like their money to go into an HRA now so they can control their money, they can make it go further. So what we've worked with the teachers union on is to change how that's working. So if somebody retires between 55 and 64, the money's put into an HRA. So Diversified Benefits would manage the money. They can either be direct billed, so they can stay on our insurance if they want, and then they're just billed directly and they take that money out of the HRA. Or they can go out and get their own insurance and, again, use the Diversified Benefits HRA account that's set up for them. So that's what we're proposing there. And that's all the changes in the Certified Staff Handbook.
Any questions from the board? I do have one question since Darla Thiel is here. She represents the union. The teachers have gotten a chance to look at this. Are there any comments you'd like to make on it or any suggestions? Okay. Thank you.
We just have to make a decision on
The bereavement leave, so would they leave it as it is or add the 5 days?
3 or change it to 5.
Right.
Procedural question is, does the motion get made and then we discuss that, or do we discuss that?
You can discuss it now. We have loose Robert's rules, and we follow it, but we can have a discussion before the motion if we want to. We actually changed that policy a few years ago because we didn't follow exactly Robert's rules. So if you want to have a discussion now, or we can have the motion and then discuss and make an amendment to the motion if we choose to change it. So however you guys want to do it.
I'm fine discussing
Yeah.
for a few minutes.
I'm in favor of the 5 days for the immediate family.
Do you have reasoning behind it? Or?
I just think that that's probably, for immediate family, I think the planning that would be required, I think 3 days isn't enough for them to have to use sick days. My preference would be that it would be that.
I was going to ask, so they can use, so the 3 days would be given, and then additional days would be sick, or could it be other? Could it be personal, or could it be other days they can use, or just sick?
They could use personal days.
Okay.
I mean, so if they wanted to take 5, they could take their 3 bereavement days and then say, I need 2 personal days.
Okay.
But the language in the handbook allows them to use sick leave days. Because personal you can use for anything.
You can use rain.
So that doesn't have to be in the language. But if they needed to use sick leave days, and we had that situation where somebody needed to take a pretty extensive period of time, we allowed them to use their sick leave day.
I'm in favor of the 5 days, just because when you lose someone that close to you, you need the extra time, I think.
I am also in favor of the 5 days because before I retired, I lost my father. You know, it was helpful. We had 5 days where I was teaching at the time.
Sure, you might have long travel or, where it is, yeah. I'd be in favor of the 5.
Someone can make a motion.
How do we define, or do we define immediate families? Is it living in the home, or is it has to be
Give me just a second.
mother, father, spouse, sibling? I mean, I'm not sure.
Awesome.
How is it defined? I don't have it in front of me, I apologize.
Immediate family is defined as spouse, domestic partner, children, stepchildren, parents, step-parents, brothers, stepbrothers, sisters, stepsisters, grandparents, grandparents-in-law, grandchildren, parents-in-law, brother, sister-in-law, daughter-in-law, those kind of, so those are the categories for immediate family.
So it's basically one step away unless it's grandparent, granddaughter, grandson. Right.
Basically, yeah.
That's the only 2 steps. is
Yeah,
going
so
up
it's
or down.
grandparents,
But otherwise, it's brother, sister.
in-laws,
brother-in-law,
outlaws, no.
sister, spouse.
I mean, I know from losing both parents this past year, especially for me, it was out of state, so it was definitely more than 3 days.
Right.
But
Let's see if we can do this correctly then. I move to approve the 2022-2023 support staff employee handbook as presented with the following change.
Wrong one. We're on the certified staff.
Certified staff. It says support
So
staff.
could we start again?
We certainly can.
Possibly.
So we're rescinding that motion and going to start a new motion.
Right. Take 2. I move to approve the 2022-2023 certified staff employee handbook as presented with the following change. That
Keep going.
bereavement leave for immediate family would be 5 days.
I'll second.
All right. We've already had discussion, but any further discussion?
Is it assumed then that they can still take additional sick as needed? That's assumed in that. Okay, thank you.
What if you choose not to take 5? Are those days, you get those
You don't-
days
you don't
anywhere
bank
else or
them.
not?
No, they're just lost.
What's that?
You don't bank them as sick days.
Okay.
They're just lost. Right. Any further
Up
discussion?
to 5 days. In theory. Okay.
All right. Hearing no further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to the support staff handbook.
the support staff changes mirror the certified staff. Again, a lot of just clarification, cleaning up language, so pay periods are pretty much the same. That whole thing about direct deposit takes place in the next payroll cycle. The extended sick leave, the bereavement leave, and we'll make that same motion for the support staff. The unpaid leave and parental leave is the same. The micro-credentials was removed. The part on the HRA and the life insurance pieces are the same. And then the retirement stuff is the same as well. So that all all those changes from the certified staff move over to the support staff. The pieces with those extra pay assignments are not in the support staff handbook, so that those pieces are not there. But all the changes we went over in the certified staff apply to the support staff.
That includes the bereavement? So
Correct.
we'd have
So when
to
you
take
make that
as well.
motion, we'll make that same motion for the support staff.
Okay.
Unless you don't want the support staff to have 5 days, but I assume
I would-
you're going to treat them the same.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't, but I'm just saying that because I don't assume very often.
I move to approve the 2022-23 support staff employee handbook as presented with one change, which would be that the bereavement day for family and
Immediate family.
Immediate family.
immediate family be changed to 5 days.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving the next month's meeting to the 25th.
Correct. With the new change to the board meetings being the second Monday of the month, our regular meeting would be the July 11th. But again, the annual meeting is set a year in advance. That meeting is set to take place July 25th. And we've always done the board meeting and the annual meeting on the same evening. So it just makes it more convenient for our board members and for our visitors.
So quick question, this year at the annual meeting, can we set that for the second?
Yeah, we would make it
Monday.
the second Monday of the month unless somebody's going to say they want it the fourth Monday of the month.
No, I did that once. Good.
That bus was backing up.
My fault, I know.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the July regular monthly board meeting from July 11th, 2022 to Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 6:45 PM.
Second.
All right, discussion. So the 6:45,
That's,
Well, okay, we're
Is that
starting.
annual
the
meeting
regular
that we
board
had
meeting is
before?
7.
Correct. Okay.
The
But
annual
the
meeting
annual
would be-
meeting news takes about 15 minutes. It starts at 6.
right,
So I didn't want us to have to sit down for 45 minutes.
okay.
And we cannot start before the set time, but we can start after it. So you can start a meeting, like if you wanted to start tonight at 7:02, that's not a problem because the public is here. But if you start at, 6:55, you cannot do that.
I would say our annual meetings have never gone more than 15 or 20 minutes. I would suggest that we amend that to be 6:30,
I'm okay with that.
but I can't make an amendment.
But is that the regular board meetings at 6:30 or the annual meeting is
The
at
annual meeting is at
6:30?
6.
Right.
And we're not changing the annual.
You can't change that. That was
So
said a
we
year
would go
ago.
15, 20 minutes, have a short break, and then,
Okay, I got you.
but I need someone else to make that amendment. If we're going to do that. Otherwise, we can call the vote
Right,
and go at
I don't have
6:45.
my notes.
So you want me to read the motion a second time?
No, you just say, I move to amend the motion to
I
be,
move to amend the motion
To 6:30.
to be 6:30 PM.
second, a second on the amendment.
Yep.
All right, so now we discuss the amendment. Anyone has anything they want to say about 6:30 versus 6:45?
Well, before somebody goes to 6:15, I say, let's vote.
All right, so we'll call the vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the amendment passed. So now the original motion has been amended to be 6:30. Any discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, we'll vote on the original motion, which has 6:30 as the time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That was painless. Moving on to the academic standards.
Yeah, by state statute, the board has to approve academic standards every year. We always get updated by the by DP or the WASAB to do this. We use the state standards from the Department of Public Instruction, and so we would just be indicating to our families and students that we are using the state academic standards from the state. And then I have to notice the public of the set standards as presented, and we put a link on our website for that.
I move to approve the district's student academic standards as outlined for the 2022-2023 school year and direct the district administrator to issue a notice informing the public of said standards as presented.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to the date for the next board work session.
So, basically in our work sessions in the fall, we typically do one for budget. So the business manager provides an overview of the budget, what we're anticipating for enrollment, all those kinds of things, and just gets the board up to speed with that whole process. A lot of times that's in August, right before the school year starts. We also know that we need to update the strategic plan. We also know that the board members have met with several staff exiting the district. There's a lot of feedback to go over that with the administrative team on that. And we just know we have a lot of work to do based on just where things are at post-COVID and all those things. So,
Are there any dates that work better for some than others?
and see, do we want to do July or August? How soon do you want to do it? I can tell you, July gets to be really difficult because I know a lot of the administrative staff that's when they, do their vacations and do their time off. I would suggest probably around August 20th or 27th, around that time.
Because they're starting to gear up for school.
And they're here because we're meeting with staff and that kind of stuff. And guys, feel free to jump in back there if you have feelings about any of the dates being discussed. So,
Yeah, both of those work for me. It would be, we're looking at 8 to 11 in the morning, correct?
yeah. And the teachers come back on the 22nd, so I'm assuming as administrators we'll be in town because we've been gearing up that week before, getting ready for them.
So they both work for me. How's it look for other people?
Is the fair the last week of August and into September?
Basically, usually, because that's why Elkhorn always starts a week later than everybody else. Does the 20th work for you guys back there? Okay. Are you two available on the 20th? We definitely need the administrative team there. So would the 27th work for you guys up there?
Works for me.
27th would be better for me.
There's something in my head on the 27th, and it's not on the wife's calendar, so there's something, but
Would it be
I
morning or would it be?
don't know, but the 27th is fine. I'll make it work.
He'll be zooming from a car somewhere.
You'll be in a car, or I'll be in a car?
Yeah.
I might be in a car.
How's it sound?
Either one's fine with me.
Okay. Well, let's go for the 27th then. So if someone wants to make a motion?
I move to set the next Saturday board work session for August 27th at 8 a.m.
Someone want a second that while they're.
Second.
All right.
Just know the agenda will most likely be the strategic plan and the feedback from these exit interviews and just what we need to do in order to, I think, I'll use my words, heal and bring energy back to the district, bring energy back to our staff, energy back to our students, and just really get moving in the right direction. Again, I think we've all worked hard over the past year and the past 2 years, but again, we need to get back to really enjoying what we do as educators and allowing our students to enjoy the learning process.
And there's nothing that says that we can't do another one in September.
We probably will in September. That way we'll know a little bit of sort of the idea of what the enrollment looks like, and we can begin preparing for that final budget session.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to parent transportation contracts.
Excuse me. We had one additional parent transportation contract that we have to approve by state statute. We also had one that we could drop because we found out that student wasn't being transported anymore. So it basically is a break even for the district, but again, this is state statute. We don't really have a choice but to offer these transportation contracts to the parents of the private school students.
So the one that's here is the one we're wanting to.
We have to approve, yeah. The one that the school shared with us that we needed to add.
Sure. I'll be glad. I move to approve the 2021-2022 parent transportation contract Parker Johnson for $243,000 and,
$243.
43, not 1,000.
oh, for two, okay.
Watch
For
your comma.
$243.45 as required by law.
All right, so just to clarify, that's for Parker Johnson for $243.45.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and then we
get
have our
one.
COVID update.
Well, again, I mean, I know there's rises in COVID cases right now, but I'm hoping this is our last COVID conversation with the board. We are planning on not recommending having a reopening plan with COVID strategies. We are planning to open the 22-23 school year under our normal protocols and procedures. So just being upfront with that, sort of moving on from that. Now, certainly if there's something coming out from the CDC or there's major changes in that, we'll have to adjust and do that. But right now, the current plan is to open the new school year just as we would have any other school year prior to COVID.
Any questions, comments?
Do you still have, I guess, supplies from previous purchases for cleaning or sanitation, or the air systems are all in working order? Do we need to make any adjustments to anything in that regard?
The air handling systems are permanent, those ionization
Right, I know that, but
units.
I know
So
the
they'll stay
filter
in place,
changing-
and we continue our, changing filters and all those kinds of things. So our air systems are really up to speed.
Right.
To hopefully keep everybody healthier during, cold and flu season. We still have plenty of hand sanitizer. We still have disposable masks available to us.
Okay.
And, again, we'll continue to really do a lot of the same protocols for sanitation and cleaning and sterilization, those kinds of things. It's more the quarantining, the testing. We will not have the person testing on site next year, all those things.
And the nurse we've had her position at full-time. the
And
last
she's been moved
2
back to
cycles.
part-time.
She's going back to part-time
Yeah,
as of today.
as of, yeah. I've already talked with her. She knew that was going to be part-time as of the spring. Again, we're hoping that nothing spikes and we're going to be back to focusing on teaching and learning again, really getting that culture and climate back to where we all want it to be, that we're all here enjoying, our students enjoying what we do.
Dr. White, two quick questions on that. I know that for the summer, the fitness center is open again now in the morning and evenings. Will that continue through the school year next year?
Most likely, it will be just like last year where it's only in the evening. The reason it's only in the evening is the staffing that we can
Okay.
come up with. We have to find people to cover it. And again, I think people are busy, and it's just, we don't want to burn people out.
And then the other, will more of the parent-involved activities that were here in the school pre-COVID, will we see those come back?
Correct. Dr. Bond and I, particularly at the elementary, have talked about that, and that is one of the things we're also working with our high school student government is to get, again, more activities, more interaction with our community, our parents. We are already starting to work pretty hard at that. We're also, like I said, met with Dave Rowland, Emily Sanders, Chief Tim, Athletic Director Hank Johnson, and Emily Evans. We're planning activities for the fall, particularly around the Boo in the Bay. So we're going to hopefully provide a whole weeks of activities that are shared between the district and Park and Rec and the library. And we're working on some other activities between basically August 1st and October 30th for the kids.
Okay. Thanks.
This isn't directly COVID related, but it's kind of a holdover from that. When kids get sick, are they going to be able to Zoom the classrooms? Is there going to be virtual options for them? If, not just for COVID, for cold and flu, or if they go on vacation. I mean, when they're out of school, are they going to have those options? Have you put a lot of thought into that, or is it going to be like the old days where you basically come to school, get your work, and go home and do it?
Well, that's how it was this past year. We did not do live streaming this year when kids were out quarantined. They had to just work with the teacher. Now, again, because the teachers are really doing a really solid job with Google Classroom, the kids can access a lot of those materials and resources via Google Classroom and keep up some extent, but they're still going to have to come back in and follow up with their teacher. If they've missed something, get that tutoring after school from the teacher or during the advisory time, those kinds of things. But we do not live stream anymore. That first year of doing that, the teachers really, my terms again, sucked it up and did what they had to do. But that was a lot of stress on our teachers. So we backed away from that, trying to be compassionate to our teachers. And again, we're seeing it in education and other fields. The past year and a half, 2 years of COVID has taken its toll on people's mental health and morale, and we just need to really continue to tend to people, particularly our staff, and support them. And we're going to keep working on that.
Okay. Any other questions related to COVID or anything else that has to do with? All right. Then we still have the full time for public comments. Half hour total, 5 minutes per person. So if anyone wants to step up and make a comment, going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everybody. Have a safe night out there.